welcome. Welcome to Refill 100. The program of today is about one seemingly simple question. And that question is, who are you? And we start like this. Just as there are concepts like time and infinite, which we don't understand, and yet talk about them lightly, there are questions that we tend to answer superficially in our day-to-day life. The question, who are you, is one of them. When I ask my students, who are you? They give me their names. I'm Peter, I'm Ferdinand, I'm Lucy, I'm Frida. But when I say to them, yes, that is your name, but what is in your name? Who are you at a deeper level? Then they get surprised. And at that moment, they give me a kind of questioning, doubting look before starting to dig into a deeper understanding of themselves. At this kind of second level of understanding, they realize that because they have parents, siblings, and friends, they are members of small and large communities. Additionally, they also realize that in life in general, they play different roles because they are part of sport teams or belong to school, to a church, to a club, or to a political party. Our names, of course, already say a lot about who we are and the culture, religion, or philosophy of life we belong to. In the English-speaking culture, for instance, the father's name is generally given to a child, while in the Spanish-speaking culture, it is not just the father's name, but also the mother's name that is used to name a child. Likewise, religious parents generally give names of saints to their children, while non-believers or non-religious parents give their children other types of names. And there are also names like the name of Jesus that in some cultures are reserved and accordingly are not used to name individuals. For instance, when I came to Belgium, I was the only one in the university and the entire city of Louvain with that name. And people could not believe that Jesus or Jesus was my official name. For indeed, in the Anglo-Saxon world, the name of Jesus has traditionally been reserved to Jesus, the Christ, the Lord, and the Savior. Now, still at a deeper level, the who are you question can be answered differently. That is what science journalist Bill Bryson has done in his book, A Short History of Nearly Everything. In this book, he claims that to be here and be who we are, trillions of atoms have assembled in a way that is intricate and difficult to understand. Further, he stresses the fact that the arrangement of every human being is special and unique, as it is an arrangement that has never taken place in history before. And it is only this one time that it will take place. Throughout the life of every single human being, Bryson points out, these trillions of atoms cooperate with each other to keep individuals alive. However, this union and cooperation last only for about 650,000 hours. And when this amount gets close, he says, for some reason, the trillions of atoms begin a process of disintegration, and the being that you are disappears eventually. At that moment, your atoms move on to integrate themselves in other individuals or things in any part of the vast universe. Bryson acknowledges that it isn't easy to understand why all this happens at all. And it is a real pity that he doesn't go deeper than that, and instead ends up concluding that you and I are a simple collection of atoms. But well, at least one thing is clear to him. Human life is something special, unique, and mysterious. Now, in undertaking the who are you question from the perspective of who am I, scientist and artist Jeff Lieberman makes it clear that the three-dimensional level of reality in which we live, we all appear as individual people. However, he says, if we take a microscope to examine our human body, we soon realize that we and other human beings are a community of 50 million cells and 1,000 trillion atoms. Further, if we look at the atoms close enough, he continues, we could see that at a certain point, the atoms fade away, and all that is left is energy. At this deepest level of reality, hence, humans are just energy. Wow. But then at this super tiny microscopic level of reality, we are moving at the speed of light, and we have the age of the universe. However, at our own level of reality, we don't feel any of this. We walk around never feeling that we are energy. Why is that so? Lieberman asks himself. And he then responds and says that we don't notice this because we are distracted by the human levels of our own experience. However, he also says, if we could look at the levels of our human experience objectively, we could experience our being energy, and also will be able to take away human suffering. In normal circumstances, we can do that because we are emotionally involved and we create our own subjective experiences. For example, while science, physics tell us that light is a vibration of electromagnetic field, the fact is that although we understand that conceptually, we cannot see it in reality. And we cannot see it because, in fact, we create the subjective experience of color when the waves go into our eyes. In this sense, all that we see exists only, we could say, in our heads. Now, when trying to raise awareness of our deeper being, that is becoming aware of that level of reality, which is consciousness, we can hear the voice of what we see and read in our heads. However, that voice soon goes away, and all that remains is the sense that I am. This indicates, according to Lieberman, that although our identity is beyond perception, nevertheless, it can be experienced. So he comes to conclude that the I am is the root of our entire human existence. However, he also adds up that the I am is a completely empty experience, devoid of any content. And so, he also proposes, perhaps we are nothing else than consciousness that is shaped into human beings. Okay, from this, we can see that our thoughts, what we think, suffers from an optical illusion of consciousness, which consists in seeing that there is a separate person in an environment, when all that is happening is that there is just energy in motion everywhere. To illustrate his point, Lieberman uses the example that a wave is not in the ocean. A wave is the ocean. In that sense, we all are energy, and we aspire to be conscious about that directly without mediations. True, the realization of this cannot be reduced to words, but he claims it can certainly be experienced. This experience, Lieberman concludes, is called the spiritual enlightenment. Now, because all human suffering is based on the illusion that there is an individual in the environment and that this person has to survive, that is, that the 1,000 trillion atoms have to hold together. If I come to realize directly that I am energy and realize that the body and the mind are temporary manifestations of that energy, I can fully accept the death of the body and mind as something that in reality doesn't happen to me, because in fact I was always energy and will always be energy. Now, Lieberman goes on, if the true end of all human psychological suffering is actually possible, this means that this is the most important thing that science should be working on. And the leading question should be this: can our modern technology change our ability to understand that? Could we eradicate human suffering? How does the world would look like if every one of us felt complete, whole, and interconnected? Well, Lieberman says, if you let go of individual survival, all your priorities change, and you will see the entire world as your own body, and you will see the suffering of others as your own suffering, and will be willing to help. Hence, Lieberman concludes, maybe the one thing that keeps us from solving the problems of the world is the persistent flawed thought that we are separate from the world. And so maybe, perhaps, just maybe, it is time that we change our minds. When I ask my students to consider the positions of Bryson and Lieberman, they come to realize that human life and history, including the history of the universe, are far more complicated matters than what it seems at first glance. They also realize that it is not easy to explain the mystery of life, and that each person is unique. Now, at our three-dimensional level of reality, every person is unique, not just because of the special arrangement of the atoms that make them up, but also because each human life is something to be made. It's a project to be carried out, to be completed. As the song of the Catalan singer Joan Manuel Serrat says, Each person makes their own way while walking, and each one individually must become, in the words of philosopher Soren Kierkegaard, the being that he or she are called to be. Unfortunately, we all know not all individuals give themselves the opportunity to reflect and listen to their inner voices, or to read the signs of the times that lie before them. As a result, there are plenty of people who end up not being who or what they are called to be. We could conclude by saying that discovering who we are and who or what we are called to be is the greatest challenge that we have in human life. At least if we are interested in living a meaningful life. Dear friends, I hope that all of us are finding our own identity, and I hope that we all know what is it that we are going to. In any case, I wish you all the best. See you next time.